Hey guys, it's Katie. So this project I'm doing, and maybe I'll show it on my Facebook page because I can't post photos to YouTube. I keep seeing this really cute post on Facebook, and it's some kind of store or something trying to sell plaid, and they have these leather earrings, or maybe leather, I don't know. And they're freaking cute, and I love them, and I want to try to mimic it in polymer clay. Now, it's going to be a 3-part pendant, so I've kind of what is that? Kind of drew a couple parts to it. So I have this one here, which is going to be my back. I have this second part here that's going to hopefully hang something, if I pin it to the top, something like this, but it might, swing. And then I'm planning on doing a little football shaped on top of that. So I'm going to start with the back one, this one here. And this one is going to be plaid, because the post is all about the plaid stuff. And I was going to try to do buffalo plaid and polymer clay. Some people already have this year. There's other tutorials, older ones, and I probably could do it. But easier, I could just use some napkins. Make my life easier. So I ordered these napkins off of Amazon, and I could put them on my Amazon page too if you're interested in the same one. But just look up plaid paper napkins. So I'm going to use one of these guys. And I don't know, they keep, every time I scroll through my Facebook page, this site keeps popping up and it keeps capturing my eye. So I'm like, I want to make those. Okay. So either way, we're going to need a base clay for this, because the way I did this was I put it on baked clay the first time. And if you haven't seen my napkin tutorial, the only one I have down here is this one. Go check it out. But there are other ways to use paper napkins. That was just the way I did it. So go check that out. So I think I'm just going to use this as the base. I don't think it really matters. It might show a little bit on the side, but... And I'm going to roll this out. Now, each one of these pieces, because I'm going to have 3 parts, I don't want each one very thick. That I'm sure about, because I don't want to have to use a massive jump ring. So I am going to make these thinner than not normal, but thinner. So let me run this out on a 3 and see what I get, and see if I might even need to go thinner, because I don't want it to be too big. Now, this red, I believe, is the scrap from this tutorial. That's this maroony color. So use whatever color you want. I was almost going to use an ecru, so you could kind of see a distressed on the side, but... yeah, I think I'm going to go with a setting 3. Yep, I think I am. Next thing I'm going to need is my tile, because I want to cut this shape out and not have to move it again. I have to clean that tile off. I've been using this metal ruler to scrape my tiles rather than my blade. And now we need to try to figure out, I've never cut out a template quite like this, so let's try it. So I'm going to really stick it down on my tile, because I want to prevent any air bubbles underneath. Some people lay their pieces on paper. I tend not to, which if you watch my videos, you guys know that. So, and you'll see when this comes together. It's going to be super cute. But first thing, I just have to start this part at least. Okay, and then I'm going to take my base one, and I'm going to lay it on. And you can do any design you want to do. This is just what I'm going to do. So I just cut these out of paper. That's all I did, was cut a couple of designs out of paper. And it took me a couple tries to get it quite right. But when I laid this one on top, I want a little bit of the background showing here and down here. So you don't just see it down here. I want to, hopefully a little bit will show up there. Even if it swings, I doubt this guy will swing up that way. He'll most likely swing this way. I don't know. I'm going to have to try it out to see. Because most likely I'm figuring he'll swing that way. So either way, I still wanted just a little bit of the background. Well, not a little bit. I wanted a good amount of the background to show, because the background's going to be this plaid. Okay, so I think what I'll do to cut this out, I can try it with a regular blade, but I might need to use a craft knife. So let me just get excess off here. And I know I'm going to need a craft knife for parts of this, for sure. Yeah, let's just use a craft knife. I'm going to leave it down. I have it kind of stuck down, and I'm just going to hopefully keep my hand up parallel. So sorry, guys. I'm just going to try to follow it. And because it's paper, I could dig into it, but I'm going to go slow. And you know what? If I mess it up, oh well. I can just roll it back out and redo it. And I'm going a little wider there just because that's what my hand did, and it'll just be a little fatter. But I can always trim this up later with my Dremel, which is usually what I do to smooth the edges. Now, I didn't want the ends pointy. It was just easier with a scissor to cut the end like that. But I think it'll be easier as well to cut with the craft knife like that. So I may round the edges off with my Dremel later. Just going to go a little wide. Now my other layers might even need to go thinner than that, because if I stack 3 of those, it might be a little thick. I think that might be a little thick for 3 pieces. Yep, I'm going to roll it out on a setting 4 and do that again. So let me do that on a setting 4 and I'll get to that point and I'll be right back. Okay, so I put it on, sorry, my camera just wiggled, or my phone I should say. I put that on a setting 4 and cut it out, and now I'm just kind of looking at it and seeing if that's the shape I want, because I can modify right now while I'm at it. And again, I'm going to leave the top a little wide. I can always trim that later. I think I'm going to round this corner a little bit later. Yeah, I think that's what I want. I went a little wider down here, but I really want that plaid to show. So I'm trying to make it a little bigger than I had originally, which is here. I had this a little bigger than I originally designed it. And some people will say, oh, you should have just done this or that, because I'm going to bake this at 275, probably 40 minutes, 30 or 40 minutes, because I'm going to do another bake on it. People will say, well, you could have done this to speed it along. You could have done that. I'm doing it this way because I want to make sure it's nice and strong, and that's the way I'm doing it. If you want to go do your heat gun, or if you want to do the napkin on it all at once, go for it. But I'm doing it this way just so I don't distort anything by placing the napkin on. I don't, yeah, I'm just doing it this way because it's the way I prefer to do it. But feel free to do it your own way if you want to. Now Not holding a gun to anybody's head saying you have to do it my way. Really just here to give you inspiration. Maybe help some people if they need it. Not claiming ever to be an expert. So I'm just smoothing off the edges because by using the craft knife, it kind of gives you this little edge here. So I'm just kind of rounding it off and smoothing it off. But again, I can do that later. Okay, so I'm going to stick that in the oven. That's the only part I'm going to deal with right now. The rest of it we'll do when this is out. Okay, so let me get that in the oven and I will be back when that's done. And again, it's going to have another bake, but it's fairly thin, so I'll probably do 40 minutes at 275 with a piece of paper over it. 30 minutes probably would suffice, but I just don't want to risk it being too brittle. I know the clay manufacturers say to bake 30 minutes is fine, but I always bake a lot more than that. It just makes it more flexible and less brittle. So I'll get that in the oven, and when we're done with that, I will be back. Okay, well that is baking. I'm going to work on this next part, which is the other S-curve, I guess. And I'm thinking, I have some scrap Twinkle Twinkle laid out. I think that might go well with this. I was going to do plain black, but I think the Twinkle Twinkle might actually go well. So right now this is rolled out on a setting 0, okay? I also have a piece of the Fimo leather texture sheet. Again, this is on my Amazon Ambassador page. Just go through my order, my list of things that I have on there if you're interested where to find it. But you can find it anywhere. It's just the Fimo leather texture sheet, and it comes in quite a big sheet that won't fit in my pasta machine. So I cut down various sizes for what I need, and that will fit. That will be plenty for my pendant. So first thing is obviously you need to decide. So this is raised up, which if you put that on your clay, it'll be indented. This side is indented. If you put that on your clay will have bumps. So I'm going to put my clay on this side where it goes down in, not the bumped up side, the indented side. The way I get it not to stick, Armor All. Just a little bit of Armor All. If I can get it to come out just a little bit. There we go. And spread that around with like a paper towel or something. You don't want tons of it, just a little bit. I don't want to get it all over my desk, so that's why I picked it up. So just spread that around. Okay. And then you're going to lay your piece on it, and I'm laying it at the bottom because I'm going to run it through in this direction because the clay is wide enough for my piece, but it's not long enough. So if I run it through this way, it will go. The other thing is I also want to get it down to a setting 4. I need to make sure I know which way up is my pendant. My piece is going to go up this way. So I'm going to run this through from a 0. I'm going to run it through on the 0 first, just get it stuck, and then I'll take it down to a 4. So let me do the 0. So now it's kind of stuck down, and I'm going to go up. I'm going to go down to the 4. Or maybe to a 3 and see how thin it is. Yeah, because you got to think, I put it through with this thickness of the texture sheet. So it's on a 3 right now, but it's thinner than a 3. And so you can see that leather type texture it has. I'm going to get another tile. I need to clean that off. And again, I know I'm using a ruler, but I'm using that lately instead of this little metal ruler instead of my blade. Okay, now I'm going to take this, gently lay this down on my tile as well. I don't really want to flatten my texture as much as I can. I'm going to lay my piece on it gently again, gently see if I can tamp it down a little bit. Just to get it to stick. Okay, and then we'll cut this piece out. I may also do one in plain black and just see which one I prefer the most. This one I want to try to keep true to size. because I want more of that buffalo plaid to show through. You know what might look cool too? Souffle black, because it's kind of matte. Might look cool. This you have to see. If you haven't seen the ad for this you have to see when it all comes together. Or I'm hoping it looks that good when it all comes together. Now I did go a little wide in a few areas, but again, I didn't want to squish my texture. So I can trim that later. I'd rather trim it later once the texture is set. The last part of this I'm going to wait to do until my pieces are out of the oven, because I don't know what size football I'm going to do. Again, I'm gently going to pat down these edges because they kind of, when you're cutting with a texture knife, you see how they kind of roll up? Or with a texture knife, with a craft knife. So I might try as well just doing some plain black with the same texture. I might just because I can, and I might like it better if I can find my bar of plain black. So this I would roll out of the same way on a 0 or a 1 or a 2. It doesn't really matter, but you need to be able to push it through that texture sheet a little bit. So let me get this conditioned. So again, it's on a 0. I'm going to run it through down to a 3 again. And that's what the text, so you can see the texture better on the plain color than on the Twinkle Twinkle, or at least in real life. So I may go with the plain. I'm not quite sure yet. And the third part of this is going to be, I haven't decided how I'm going to make it yet. I might try something new to see if I like it. I might attempt just to use a clay. I might use something on a clay. I haven't quite decided yet, so I'll have to, and I might play too, so we'll have to kind of, once I get these two parts out of the oven and can really look at it, I might decide that afterwards. Because this part I'm not going to really sand. The other part I'm not going to really sand. And the top, I'm probably not going to do much sanding on all of this. I'm just probably going to trim up the edges a little bit. But I'll probably, yeah, I'm not going to, I was just going to take my knife to it, but I'll take my Dremel to it so I don't mess any of this texture up. So the other part's been in the oven for maybe 5 minutes, as long as I've been doing this. So I'll go stick this part in the oven too. And then they'll both be done around the same time. And the first part will be ready for us to get buffalo plaiting. Yeah, I'll be back. While I'm waiting for those to come out of the oven, I conditioned some regular gold. And I have some yellow gold glitter, but it's not really yellowy, not like what I want. So I think I'm going to add some regular gold to this. I wonder if anybody else has seen what I'm talking about. And I wish I could show it to you, but I think I'm going to add some regular gold to that. Because I've never really used this. I don't use much of these glitter ones. But I think I want more of a yellow tone to it. So I'm going to mix some regular gold in with this yellow gold. I believe it's yellow gold. Yeah, it's yellow gold. So let me mix this together and see what I got. Yep, I like that tone better. It's definitely more yellowy. It's not as dark as this, which is fine. But, you know what I was going to use some glitter. I don't have any gold glitter. I have all kinds of glitter, but no freaking gold glitter. So like I have this kit, and I have yellow, but it's actually like yellow. So I don't think it'll work. And then I have other glitters like these. But this one has stars in it. Which maybe I could pick the stars out. And then I have my glass glitter, which I used. It's called Diamond Dust. It's actually like glass glitter, which may work. If I decide to go this route, I still have to kind of decide. And I may do it and see what it turns out like. And then I have other chunky glitters. But again, they're all chunky. And this one has stars in it too. So there's that one for all the gold ones. And then, let's see. This one doesn't have stars in it. So that, does it? No. But these are like the same exact colors. Okay, so that one might... But they're really chunky, and I was hoping for finer, but I don't have any finer ones. I thought hopefully in my little glitter kit I would have finer, but I don't. So I'm kind of bummed about that. I am. Because I was going to try something, but then... can't try it if I don't have it. And that one has stars and hearts in it, so that one won't work. That one's the same thing. I wanted a nice... Maybe I'll order some glitter. And finish this tutorial when I order some glitter. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll order some gold glitter and make one version of this without it, and then make one version with it. So let me order some gold glitter. It'll be here in a couple days, and then I'll finish off the rest of the parts, and then one part I'll save until I get it in. Because I want to try it and see what it looks like. Okay, so here we go. They're out of the oven. Here's the two parts here. I took my Dremel and just cleaned up the edges, made sure it was nice and smooth. I rounded the tip off, which I'll show you later on these guys, but I figured for now we got to get this part done anyways. Now I may hang them so they all swing, but I also may later decide to set this one on with liquid clay like this. So then this part actually will be up a little higher. So I'll drill the hole through this one and part 3, because I don't have part 3 done, which is going to be like it's going to be a smaller one. I just drew a quick one out, a football that I plan on dangling that will move independent. I was going to have all 3 parts move, but I may, because okay, so if I drill a hole in the top of this, and I'm just envisioning it, I want it to sit something like that, but I think it will sit more like that when it's dangling. I just have a feeling that that's the way it's going to roll, because gravity and the center line. it may hang more like that, which is fine too, but I also may bond it on later, something like that. I don't know, I haven't decided. We got to get it more pieces together. So the next part before I go to bed is our buffalo plaid napkin. Now this one does have a texture on the outside, which I think I'm going to stay away from that and just use more of the center. This one's 3-ply, so let me open it up. So we have 1 ply, 2 plies, and I already started peeling it. And then I believe I bought them and they were 3-ply, it said. So yeah, so you're just going to separate them. And you can keep this backing for like cleaning up craft stuff, like wiping your pasta machine and stuff. This is still a napkin. So, you know, keep it and use it for wiping our tiles up and stuff like that, you know. It's just a 2-ply napkin. So then we have just this part here. Now, I'm going to take my scissors. Now, I can, since I have a template for this, the other thing is I'm going to need it on the front, which if I want it on the front is going to be like that, but I think I have to cut it backwards if I'm going to trace it on the back side. I believe I'll have to cut it backwards, right? Because then when you flip it around, yes. So I'm going to take a pencil. If I had a white one handy, that might work better. I'm just going to trace around it, and it can be a little bigger. You're probably better off going slightly bigger. And actually this pendant, you know what? I'm going to trace my pendant. If I was smart, I'd just trace my pendant, not my template anymore. Because my template's not the same as my pendant is. It's a template. Oops, got a little hole in it. That's okay. Okay. And then this is just like I did with my other way I did the napkins. And actually, my little embroidery scissors might be a better option for this. Just because they're a little smaller, you know. And then all you're going to do is just cut whatever you want out. You could totally just cut out a square. It might be easier to manage if you just had a square. And I don't care if it's exact. It just has to be close. Let me just get a bunch of this junk off. Sorry, I know I'm off camera. I'm just getting all this excess off so it's easier to stay on camera. If I wasn't on a camera, I wouldn't be restricted to a 6-inch height off of my desk. Because I'm only working about 6 inches from my desk between my phone and the table. It's only about 6 inches. So I'm kind of restricted when I'm working with bigger things. And I'm going to also leave it a little wide as well. And remember, I have so many pieces of this now that I can flub up a couple times, you know, if you were like, oh, no, I should have gone wider. I mean, even just that one sheet, I could probably get 15 or 20 of these out of it. Probably not that many, probably like 10. And it is a little wide, which is fine. So it looks like the darker your background is, the darker your pendant is going to be, because I can see it behind it. So if you were to use like a pure red with the red, or if you were doing the gray and black plaid, you might want to use white, because it'll definitely tint your thing. I'll see how much it tints this one. If I'm not happy with it, you could even use translucent. I might go with a lighter color. We'll see. So the next thing, this is the Kato Clear Liquid Poly Clay. I'm not going to use Bacon Bond, which you probably could, but it doesn't give you such a glossy finish. So I'm using the Finnabar Prima. This is a silicone brush I got for when I was doing mixed media a lot and spreading on texture pastes and different things. Silicone brushes work well. You could use a paintbrush, but use an old junky one because liquid clay is really hard to get off. So put a good amount on. And then set your piece on. Try to get out all your air bubbles and stuff. And it's going to start to soak through the liquid clay, which is perfect. And I'm also going to put some on the top. And there are other ways to do this. This is just the way I prefer. So I don't have to use any water, which is one version I watched a while back. Someone used water and rubbed. They baked it on the clay and then it imprinted the pattern. And then they rubbed off the paper. But my hands are so bad this time of year. You see how dry they're getting from washing my hands so much in the medical field, or dental field I should say, that I try to avoid water on the weekends if I can help it. And I am going to leave them long. You could cut it off right now, or you can cut it off later. Doesn't really matter. And I think I'm gonna resin these still though. Just because I prefer resin. I have some air bubbles underneath, so I'm trying to squeeze them out. Oh, my dog's chewing his bone. Sorry, guys. Is that an air bubble right there, too? Yep. So really try to get all your air bubbles out if you can help it. Like I said, I'm going to resin, so if I have a little air bubble, it's not like the end of the world for me. Definitely try to get all your wrinkles out and your air bubbles. And again, I'm just trying to get my liquid clay flat and get rid of my fingerprints, but I have a fingerprint right there that I'm trying to get rid of. Okay. And then I'm going to bake that. What's the temperature? 3 to 350. I absolutely hate that. Can't you just give me an exact temperature? Why 3 to 350? That drives me insane. I hate that when they don't give you exact temperatures. So I'm probably going to do this. I think before when I did it, I think I was going to go between 300, which the Kato says, and the 275 of the Primo. I'll probably do like 280, 285. I don't remember what exactly I did before, but I am going to bake it. I already did like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, so I'll probably bake it for another 40 minutes or so. And then I'll trim off the excess and show you guys that, but that's going to be that piece. But like I said, I may decide to go either red or a pink background just so this looks brighter. You know, that's what would happen if I did white. I think that might give me more of the look I want. You know what I mean? With a white compared to the dark. So play around with it and see. I might actually just cut out a same one just in white and bake that while it's in the oven. While the oven's going. And then get it to the same exact point, and that way we can see the difference. Because I haven't done a practice round of this. This is the first time I've done this. I do have some scrap. Oop, I just bumped the camera, sorry. I do have from that candle, I have this little bitty cane that has white and translucent and white cernet pearl type thing. I might use this and bake it on this because that's just what it looks like when I roll it out. So I might use this actually, this whitish scrap, because it doesn't need to be pure white, it just needs to be lighter. So I'll probably do that and get it to the same point this one is, and then I'll show you guys later what those look like too, and then you can kind of judge for yourself if you like it a little darker, if you want it the whiter. I wanted to say, I can already tell these are going to be more of the red color I'm looking for. But I do want to say, make sure you're tenting these. I tented them, usually I just lay a piece of paper on top, but I did tent them with tin foil. And that way, my paper didn't stick to the liquid clay. So make sure you're definitely tenting them with tin foil or something where it's not actually touching your piece. But that one's out of the oven. You can see it's much darker than what I was intending. I guess I didn't even think that obviously these are going to be kind of see-through. Which, duh, they're kind of see-through because it's one ply, so it's going to be see-through. I slid it a little bit. You can slide this around fairly easily, so be careful that you're not actually sliding it off your clay piece. See just the color difference already? See how much different it looks on a white background compared to, hang on, I'll tilt it in a second. Let me just wipe this liquid clay off stuff. A white background versus a dark background. Not that this is bad by any means. It's just going to be depending on what you want. So I did want more of the red, like the true red. That pencil mark should cut right off, and I actually made two of the white ones. This one I did with the texture part of it. I don't know why, I just did. So it's really going to depend on what you're looking for in a look of your piece. It's just really going to depend on that. So I don't know. I just wanted to show you quickly before I bake them how much different they look. But I still obviously have to trim up these edges, which we'll do together. So I'm going to bake those ones, and then tomorrow, because it's getting late, tomorrow I'll show you how to trim them up, and we'll finish one version. The second version I want to play with once I get that gold glitter in, because I want to try. I made in one of like my first videos a faux druzy stone, druzy looking type stone for a mixed media project, like those glittery gems we have, and I want to try to accomplish that in clay, which is why I'm ordering some different glitters to try out, which if I like the glitters, I'll put them on my Amazon page. I don't know, you know, I like to test things out before I put them on my Amazon page, so I like to see how they bake. Some glitters are really thin plastic and it will melt rather than actually bake well, so I definitely want to test them out before I do it. I like these twinklets, the diamond dust, because it's, you can hear it, it's actually glass shards. These bake really well. And there's also no pink hue to this, whereas some of the other clear glitter type things have like a pink. Like I have some, which I like this, don't get me wrong. I like this, but the shaved ice, you see how it's more pink? And this is not glass. This is not a glass glitter. This is very pretty, but again, if you're going for like an actual clear look, I mean, that's two different looks to me. So the shaved ice is great for that, but be careful because it is glass shards. So I couldn't find this in gold. I wish I could have found this glass in gold, but I couldn't. So anyways, we'll see what I get in the mail in the next couple days, and then we'll do one version tomorrow, and I'll also be able to work out the kinks. And I should make another one of these since I have 3, so I can make 2 tester pieces, or 3 different versions really. Work out the kink on one that I'm not like in love with, and then I can kind of figure more out later. This one I don't know what I might do with this one. I might go with something else. If that's that dark, you know what I mean? Rather than black. Because I think black's just going to be way too dark for this look. For that one. If I even decide to finish that one off. I don't know. Okay, anyways, gonna bake these. Okay, so they're out of the oven. It's the next morning, and I'm been playing a little bit on my own. So first thing, either way, we have to trim up this excess. So basically all I was doing with this one here was taking my scissors to it first. So again, I'm using some embroidery scissors because they're just smaller. And you can feel where the liquid clay is and not. So I'm just trying to get off the big excess, just the paper. And then I'll trim the rest up with my Dremel. I'm still working through my design. Like I've been, I don't know, sitting here pondering what I'm going to do. What I'm going to resin, what I'm not going to resin, how this whole thing's going to look. I definitely think I would need all the parts together to be able to play a little bit more and figure out what I plan on doing. Okay, so now that I got most of the excess off, I'm going to use my Dremel. And on my Dremel, I have one of my sanding barrel bits here. I don't know what grit this is. It's just a coarse one. These are on my Amazon. I use them for like gross removal of things, like a lot of removal. But I don't use them all the time. They work well for something like this, though it won't get off all of the paper. So I'm on about speed 15 in my Dremel. I'm just going to go around and trim up my edges. Now the paper kind of folds up, which I'll show you in a second. Again, sorry, this is really hard to work in between the camera and the table with this really long thing. Okay. So now what you'll see is a lot of this paper is just kind of loose here. So I just took my nail and flicked it back over. But my edges are all nice and smooth and trimmed up. And then this is what I've done, trying to figure out how to get it off. I took my orange sanding wheel, which I've showed you guys a bunch of times, and just kind of tap the edges like this downwards to try to pin it down, see? But whatever way works for you. My Dremel's always sitting here. It's always plugged in. Come on, get there. And then that made it really thin, so then I can just take my craft knife and kind of scrape it off. Now after I resin, I can always come back and trim off any excesses too. Whatever's not resined. But this is just us being nitpicky, whereas most people won't be this nitpicky about our pieces. but this isn't for most people. This is for me. I don't mass produce anything. I've maybe made 2 or 3 of one that people like that I know. Coworkers, acquaintances, people on my Facebook page, stuff like that, local. Come on, Daniel. There we go. And I was going to round that corner off after I resin it. Okay. So now I have these two, right? And this is the textured one. Not that I think you'll even see it after. I just felt like using it. And then this is our black piece, which I still have to trim this up as well. But I was kind of going through and how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? How am I going to set all of this up? So this is not the only 2 parts that are going to go with this. So roughly I'm thinking this one's going to be set like this. Whether my contemplation is, do I bake and bond it together, and then when I'm done, just resin the base part? Or do I leave it separate and then have it movable and dangling? I'm not quite sure yet, but I can also do that. I can do both options because I made 2 of these and I made 1 of these. So I can do both options. So, you know, this is the design I was kind of thinking where none of the plaid was showing over here, up here. It was showing down here, a little bit here, and a little bit there. So let me see if I need to trim this one up a little bit too. That last one I had to trim a little bit here. I made it too fat, so it kept showing. I need to make another one of these black ones because I don't think I like this. I don't think. You can't really see the texture enough, so I don't think I like that. Especially once you see part 3 that goes on this. Okay, so either way, I'm going to make part 3. Now, part 3 we may modify once I get that glitter in, but let's do 1 right now so I can at least see what I'm doing and I can get all the parts together. So first thing I'm going to need my football cutters. That's the shape I'm going to go with. So let me just find them in my bin of cutters here. I hope I have a small enough one. Yes, I do. Okay. Okay. So my thought was, right, we do this, we do something like this sitting here, and then I have a gold football one. Now these also may be too fat of a football. And then this one's too small. This one's like the skinny that I want, but it's too tiny. So I actually may need to draw one out, a template out. Or I could cut one out and then modify it from this. Make it skinnier. So my thought was, do I want it dangling all the way down? Or do I want it to end up higher? You know what I mean? So either way, let's do one with the gold glitter with a little more gold in it that I mixed up yesterday. Let me just see, I think more of that height will be good. So let me cut one of these out. And again, I may do something else with this when I get that glitter. I may want more. This may not be glitzy enough for what I'm thinking. Okay. So then, because these parts aren't stuck together, it does make it kind of hard. And that's on a setting 4 as well. It's nice and thin. So I think I want it smaller. It's too big right now. Let me take my blade. Where's my blade? Let me just wipe my blade off. Hang on. Let's just make it a little skinnier. I'm just playing because I can always trim up this black a little bit if I don't want that up there. I can always trim this part of this black off up there. If I don't like that up there, I can, like I said, I can always trim that. And I can always make this smaller when I bake this. But if I bake and bond the bottom piece on to the second piece, and then I left this piece loose, the gold piece loose, dangling, I could even do it something like that. I think I might bake and bond it on. I just need to make sure I have enough up here that I can drill my hole for my bail. Okay, first thing though, let me keep this because I'm going to bake that. I need to trim up these edges a little bit. And again, I'm going to use my orange wheel for that. Let me move my camera. I'm going to move you over my lap. But yes, I have dust now. And I'm just going to take my orange wheel and trim around these edges. Because if I bake and bond it, I won't be able to afterwards. And I think I wanted to round this tip a little bit. And then I think I was going to trim this side in right here where that, which I can always do later, but where that gold football was sticking out a little bit. Lightly buff up the top a little bit. And I should make one more of these when I get the oven going. I should make another one of these quickly. Ooh, dust. Dust. Okay. Let's see. So I think I'm going to bake and bond this one down. The hard thing is I need to make sure I have enough at the top to drill a hole, enough sticking up. Yeah, that'll be plenty. And then if I happen to stick this guy on somewhere like this, I still think I might get rid of some of that. part. And I also may make this still smaller after it's baked. I don't know. I feel like the best way for you guys to see how I'm going to do this is by watching me go through it and learning kind of myself. I've never done a 3-piece pendant, so I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, so either way, I'm going to bake this guy off because I know I can always make him a little smaller later with my Dremel. And then this one, I'm going to bake and bond together. And then again, I can always trim up here later. And I may modify this shape some after. I may make, for this second one, I may make this part longer so if I do the same thing here, the bump comes out in this crack. In this indent, the black will come out there. I'll show you what I mean. But this one, I'm just going to go with what I have. Let me get some bacon bond. Or liquid clay would probably work too. And then what I think I'll do, I don't think I'm going to resin this one, but I want to resin this obviously to seal it and to make it look smoother. So I'll probably just put my resin around it. Something like that, I think. Yeah. Just wipe off some of that bacon bond. Gotta go up a little bit because I need enough, like I said, I need enough to be able to drill a hole up here. If I drill a hole there, it's going to be hanging like that. Okay. That one I'm going to bake. Let me get a black piece, run out my texture sheet with that leather texture, and let me show you how I'll modify the cut of it, because I think I'm going to make another one to do with this one, or I'm going to modify this shape a little bit, the first shape that I did, and see if I can get it a little different. Okay, so I got it run back out. Okay, so if this was the design I was going with, I want this bump, which would be fine if I hang it like this. The bump is where this indent is on the back one, but if I have it up a little bit, the bump needs to come down. So let me try to, you know what I might do? I might draw this out. So if this is my piece here, right? This is how I kind of did this. This is the first piece. I hand drew the first piece, right, in my paper template. and then okay, so that's the first piece. Now if the second piece I want to go up a little bit, like that, which up here will be fine. I want that one to come out like that. I want this one to come down, but then I want it to go like this. Instead. So let me change these two colors so you can kind of see. So this is the background one, roughly. Background. And then my foreground one, I wanted that bump to come out through here. And around. Maybe down a little narrower. Maybe like that, actually. So then I'll take some scissors and cut that out, and that will be my template, and will hopefully be closer to what I want. So I started with one kind of design and I've modified it. I don't have cutters that match this, you know, of what I want. And I've done 2-part pendants, but I've never done 3-part pendants, so this is a first for me. Something like that. And again, I can always trim it up later, but at least this will give me some kind of template to cut. So again, when I can find my craft knife, just cut this guy out, and then I'll bake him with the other ones. Again, I can always trim them up. I'd rather have them wider than skinnier because I can always modify it after it's baked. If I don't have enough material, I'm screwed. So I'd rather cut it wider than skinnier, but if you want to cut it precise, like you don't like using a Dremel, go ahead and cut it precisely. But I don't mind using my Dremel. Okay, so I'm going to bake these two. I'm going to bake this one, and I don't know what one I use, this one. I might just cut one more of these out while I'm at it, but I think I'm going to do something else. But I'm going to need a base layer anyway, so I might as well just cut one more of these out right now and bake it off. I can't wait until that glitter comes because I think it'll be really cool once it comes. It should be here in a few days. Let me just make this a little thinner right now. I'm going to bake these all for at least like 30 minutes. That way it's just set so I can play with the design a little more to see what I'm happy with, and see where I'm going to go with this and how I may modify it a little bit, and yeah. Okay, so all these pieces are out of the oven. This is the one I bake and bonded together. And then here is the piece for it. I'm trying to figure out if I want to get rid of, do I want to hang it more over there? I can't quite tell yet. This is the other one that I modified that I think I like that better. I might need to bring the tip over a little bit by trimming it, because if I hang it like that, it's over here, it's gonna hang different. It's hard without drilling a hole right now, and I don't really want to until I'm sure. Something like that maybe. And then this would go something like that. And then again, this would go something like that. But I think, so this is my play one. This is going to be my final one. I think what I'm going to do is resin this base part. And I think I'm going to resin this guy here, because I can always trim the sides later a little thinner if I want it a little thinner. I haven't quite decided what I want with it yet, how big I want this. And then I can actually drill holes and see how it's going to hang a little better, so I can make it so I can modify the other one that I'm going to wear and work the kinks out. So I'm working kinks out is really what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. This piece will be loose and kind of hanging. So what I'll do is I'll resin all of the plaid. I'll try not to get any resin on this. And then I think I'm going to resin this guy. I'll take my orange wheel and just buff up any rough edges I may have, just so it's nice and smooth. And then I'll use my UV resin on the back, and I'll show you that when it's done. And that way I have a good tester piece to work off of and work my kinks out before I do my final piece. Okay, so I'm going to UV resin, get glitter all over it, UV resin the plaid, and I might just show it to you in a fast forwarded version, just so you can see what I'm doing with the resin. I've never also resined around another piece, so I don't know how this is going to work. We'll see. You guys will see it when I see it. So Okay, so they're both out and they're resined, and I would probably do another coat on this one or trim up the edges because I just did a really thin coat, just so I can get an idea. Again, this is my tester piece, and so all the pieces are resin, but I need an idea. So I need to figure out how I'm going to do this for my final piece. And I actually think I kind of like a little bit of the black showing up there, which I'll show you once it's hanging so we can figure this out a little bit more. I want to see how it's going to hang once the weight's on it and it's on a jump ring. So either way, I need to put this hole down a little further because I want it to be on the edge of this guy. So this hole is going to have to go down further. So let's say about here. I don't know if you can see that, but about here. Somewhere down there. So let me make a little tick mark in the clay. And this one's not resin, so it's pretty easy to go through. Now normally I would drill them both. Sorry, my washer's going upstairs. Normally I would drill the small on each hole, on each piece, and then the medium, then the larges. I wouldn't change my drill bit out, but I want to get this one fully drilled so I know where this hole is for sure. And I'm just going up through my sizes. I mean, I totally could have made these out of just plain, like a scrap color clay, each part, but I want to get more of a feel what my final piece is going to look like. Let me go up to my... which means I'm going to need a bigger jump ring to fit through this. Okay, so that hole's there, and then if I want that one to hang, I could probably put it somewhere like that. What I might do is I might set it there where I want it, and then I might see if I can... wish I had a fine point permanent marker or something again. You know what I could do? Just gonna make a mark. See if I can make a... Yep, I got a mark right there on the back. Can you see that little tick mark? There we go. So I don't think my 6mm jump rings are going to work. I'm going to need something wider. But I have 7mm jump rings and 8mm jump rings. Because I can always modify the other piece if I kind of know, if I have an idea how things are going to dangle. Because it's not just 2 parts I'm worrying about now, I'm worrying about 3 different parts dangling. Even though those two are fused together, I might not fuse my permanent one together. I might leave them separately. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so let me get a bigger jump ring because I know I'm going to need a bigger one than those 6 millimeters. These are 7. That might be wide enough. So I'm not going to finish it off. I'm just going to look at it with a jump ring and see how it dangles. So let me get it through that one. And then we'll get this one on too. And I used a quick curing resin, so this one kind of got a little distorted. If I cure the back on that one, it shouldn't, but I might actually like the way it works if it's a little distorted. I might actually like it flaring out there at the bottom. But the final piece, I may just use a longer curing resin. Let me put a bail on it just so I can put it on my stand and we can take a peek and see. Now this isn't going to be the final bail. I'm just kind of grabbing a bail and I'm going to stick it on just so I know what we're dealing with, what I'm looking at. Because right now I'm building a piece, you know, we're building something. And I probably won't use silver. Oops. I probably won't use silver for, oh my god, for my final piece. Okay, let me grab my stand. And let's take a peek at this guy. And see if I like the components of what my final piece will be. You know, and obviously I can finish up the edges totally. I can resin that even better. I think I'm gonna like how the black will come down further on the other one. So it is hanging okay. It is hanging fairly straight. Let me just let it fall on its own. That's how it falls. Yep, that's how it falls, just like that, which actually isn't bad. So really, if I could either take a black or a red alcohol or something and tint these edges up and then resin the sides, which I've showed you how to do, and then put another coat of resin on the top because I didn't put a very thick coat, so it's a little uneven. But this one's not bad. Now my question is, do I want to have all 3 parts dangling on the other one? That's what I was trying to figure out. Decisions, decisions, decisions. But I don't want to drill the holes now because then the resin will go through the holes. I might leave all 3 parts dangling. But I also want to do something else with this gold, so I need to wait a couple of days. So maybe what I'll do is resin this part here, fully resin, because if I'm going to leave these all dangling separate, it's going to be about that thick. So I'm going to need a big jump ring to fit that thickness. Maybe an 8 or 10 millimeter jump ring. I'm also going to resin, and it's going to be thicker because I'm going to add resin to this part and this part. So I can fully resin this one. And I'm going to not use a quick cure resin. I'm going to use a longer curing resin, the RJ Crafts Easy Dome, so that way I don't get any distortion in this. I still have to trim these edges up, which I have not done. Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be more of the look I want. Like that. And I think I am going to leave all 3 pieces loose so they can swing on their own. Each piece, you know what I mean? Okay. So that's what we got so far. So let me do some touch up with this guy. Well, let me resin this one so then I can touch both of them up together. I think I might put black on the edges of this, not in clay, but in alcohol ink, or if you have alcohol markers, or anything. You could use any paint and then just resin the sides. Yeah. Let me resin this one. I'll do both of the sides together. I'll try to figure out what I want to do for the sides. Okay, so I might try these metallics. If I decide I don't like it, I can always just paint the sides with a plain black. But I don't have a deep red, so I have this festive red. I have zinc, which is like a black, and then I have rich espresso to deepen it up. So just on a piece of scrap cardboard. That's what I usually use when I'm doing quick paintings. I mean, when I'm oil painting, I have a whole mixing pad. But when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I just use this. Let me see if I can get a richer, sorry, the washer's draining, a richer red color, which is going to be hard to tell because it's on blue. That's also quite transparent. I'd probably have to do a couple coats of that if it's gonna actually be what I want it to be. I don't think it will get to what I want. Okay. So in that case, I have some nice Grumbacher. This is acrylic. Ooh, well, that came out quick. I think I'm just gonna go with a good quality black paint. And I don't care what's really going on the back. I can buff all of that off afterwards since I haven't sanded the back or anything. Just trying to make sure I don't hit the top much. And then I'll have to resin these sides like I've showed you before in the alcohol ink ones. Otherwise it won't be really sealed. I probably will do 2 coats of this just to make sure it's nice and opaque. I'm actually not displeased with this first one. I didn't think I was gonna like it, my trial one, but I'm actually okay with it. This is actually one of my favorite paintbrushes. I got a bunch of these for when I oil paint. It's a 3mm, 1/8 Royal and Langdon, I think it is, Crafter's Choice, angled. I really like these paintbrushes. I actually got them at my craft store for when I was oil painting and doing fine details, and then I found them on Amazon afterwards. And because I've resined the paper towel already, if I get any on the top, it just wipes off. Whereas if I hadn't resined, the top, and I got this paint on the paper towel. I don't know how easily it would have come off. It's already starting to dry, which is great, so I'll just go around and do a second coat. Anywhere that looks like it needs a little more opaqueness to it. But you definitely got to seal the edges when you do things like this. You could smear it if you want a bigger border, or you could add a border of clay, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm totally fine with this. And like I said, I would clean up the back afterwards. Just sand the back down a little bit after everything's fully resined. So while I'm at it, let me do this one too. Okay, so I'm just going to paint this one. You don't need to watch me paint 2 of these. Ooh, I got to be very careful I don't get it on the top though, because I have not resined this one. Probably should resin it first. I'll just go really slow. Okay, I'm going to pause my video and continue that. So on this one, I just did the first coat of resin. I am still going to do one more coat. This one, I resined the sides. So the sides are all done. And so the paint is now protected. And I did one more coat of resin on the front, so it's a little more level. So that was the tester piece. So now I'm just going to put it together, and then that one's done. The other one, I'm still waiting for the gold piece, for the gold glitter, because I want to try something a little bit more flashy for that. I don't know, I want to try something else and see if it will look good or not. I'm going to use a gold jump ring and bail on this one. I might use a black one on the other one, which I get somewhere off of Etsy. I just search gunmetal jump ring. So I'm pretty happy with that first tester piece. I really am. I think it's going to be cute, and I think the second one will be good too. I'll have all 3 parts moving, and that way they'll all be able to swing independently of each other. But like I said, I gotta wait for the glitter to come to do the third part. So I'll do another coat of resin on the back, on the plaid piece. This black part's done. So these 2 I'm thinking will go like that, something like that, or maybe even like that. Like something like that. And then we'll put a gold piece. I'm going to use this as the base. I'll do the gold piece like that, but I want to try to bump up the shimmer. If not, I'll just use this one if I decide I don't like what I'm thinking in my head. But ultimately, I'm pretty happy with that, you know. And again, if it swings, it can fall whichever way it wants, but it generally falls like that, which is kind of what I wanted. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'm pretty happy with that outcome. And I do like how I used a quick cure resin and the gold piece kind of stands out from it. I do like that, actually. I like it sitting up a little bit. I don't know, it just gives it a little more texture to the piece, rather than if it was completely, if I used a slower curing UV resin and it was completely flat to the pieces. I actually kind of like how it sits out a little bit. So I may wear that one too. Okay, so when the other parts come in, I'll finish UV. I'll do another, because I did a really thin coat, and I need to do a second coat on the sides, because again, I just did a really thin coat. So I'll do a second coat on the sides so they're nice and smooth. I'll do another coat on the top, and I'm using the RJ Crafts because it's a slower curing resin so I don't get distortion. And then that piece will be done. and this piece will be done. And then when I get my glitter in later this week, I'll show you what I plan on doing with this piece. I'm not going to resin it or anything right now. It's just pretty much a polymer clay piece. I'll probably just smooth these edges because they're a little rough from the glitter. But then I'll be back later and I'll show you what to do with that.